Please welcome Hall of Famer Dr. Brien Benoit to introduce the 1960 team into the GG's Football Hall of Fame. On the behalf of the late, great coach of the 60s 1960 team, Hall of Famer, Mr. Matt Anthony.
Thank you very much. Well, it's going to be a pretty hard act to follow when you raise $10,000 for the GG's program, because it just shows how far the program has come in the 60 years that have passed since the time of the 1960 team. And there's one constant over all of those years, and my brother Pierre said, be sure to tell the people that we played hard, but we partied harder. And I believe that no matter what area you played or were involved with the GGs, it was always the same. We had great parties. As you just heard, 1960 was the first year that Matt Anthony went undefeated. I played for 9 years. I was a very slow learner. And in those days, there was no eligibility cutoff. So Matt was my coach for 8 years. And I got to know the guy extremely well. And the word legendary applies to him in spades. Matt had played for the Ottawa Rough Riders, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and when he came to Ottawa, the GG program was in its infancy. We were just getting going, and his initial stipend was $100 a year. It rose during my time to $500 a year, and he would often use that to pay for the team dinners, because prior to Sue Hyland coming, getting all kinds of money from Dr. Fremont, the program had no money. And after every game, Matt Anthony would give us part of his stipend, go buy a couple of cases of beer. And every trip back on the bus was always fueled with beer. He would sit up on the front and ignore whatever was going on in the back. Now, during that time, Matt Anthony was, as I said, legendary. And he had several qualities that people don't really know about, except those that played for him. He was a medical professional, because he had a cure for every illness, every injury. And the injury and the treatment always was, okay, you got a broken leg, take a lap. Run across the field, take a couple laps. And the only thing that was different was if you had a concussion, because then he would call the trainer. The trainer would come over and breathe on you. And he had such a whiskey breath that the pet player always immediately woke up. Matt was also a diplomat. Even though he was a tough guy and used expletives constantly, he was able to control people in a very different way. One day we were playing in Waterloo, and we'd won the game and we were having a big party in the hotel. One of the guys decided, I'm going to have Chinese food. So we ordered Chinese food. This chop suey is no good. So he threw it out the hotel window, not knowing that there was a police officer standing below. So the police officer came in and said, who threw that water on me? And Matt was in the lobby, and he was laughing because the guy was covered in chop suey. It was all down his back. I want to arrest the guy that threw that stuff on me. And Matt was able to talk him out of it. So Tony Malloy did not go to jail that night. Matt was always a warrior, and all of you guys know about the rivalry between Ottawa U and Carleton. The Panda game started during my era, and it was always really, really wild. In the initial Panda games, there was no south side stands at Lansdowne, so both universities were in the north side stands. There was no frisking the people coming in for booze and drugs or whatever. So we would be down on the field, and there was more action in the stands than there was on the field. When we went, and during the time I was there, we never lost a Panda game, I'm proud to say. In order to get revenge, we would have to go to play at the Carleton field, because it was always 2 games a year. Ottawa U didn't have a field at the time, but they had their field, and they were very, very proud of it. One game at Carleton got a bit out of hand. Carleton ran out of money for the ambulances. Their guys were getting taken off on the stretcher regularly. And at the end of the game, the referees said, this is getting too rough, too many penalties here, and they called the game about 3 minutes before the end. It made the local papers. When we tried to leave, we were all on our bus and we tried to leave Carleton, the students, who were all well-fueled, decided not to let us go back to the Ottawa U campus. So Matt said to my brother Pierre, get a couple of guys and let us get out of here. Pierre went out with a few assistants, and in seconds, he's all dressed in his football gear, and in seconds we were allowed to leave the Carleton Stadium. Everybody likes a beat Carleton story, don't they? Matt Anthony also had a religious streak, and in one game, he employed divine intervention. We were playing against McMaster in a night game at Lansdowne, and at halftime we were losing, and losing badly. Then the Sioux Highland of the time, Father Tom Marcoux, said to Matt, what are you going to do to get these guys going? Well, I don't know. I got nothing else to say. I'm trying to boost these guys all the time. Father Marcoux said, let me say a few words at halftime. Father Marcoux came, and he used words that were not approved by the Vatican. And he let us have it. He let us have it. And the guys were so pumped up that we went out there and beat the SHIT out of McMaster. When you look back, and I'm talking to my teammates, some of whom I haven't seen since 1960, and I looked at the team picture this morning before coming over, and I realized, you know, student athletes, at the time of Matt Anthony, the student part was quite emphasized. Because amongst the teammates that we had, there's at least 3 surgeons, there's a couple of family doctors, social workers, successful businessmen, PhD scientists, and so on. And as far as I know, none of my teammates ever went to jail. But I can't say that none of our teammates ever tried tax evasion. So on that note, I'll leave you, and I want to thank the Hall of Fame introducers for putting our team into the top.